lovely people. Welcome to Ebb and Flow Receive and Let Go show, where we discuss the energies of the full and new moon each month. I'm your host, astrologer Jamie Layton, and I have with me
Reverend Christine. I'm also an astrologer. I practice numerology, spiritual counseling, all that jazz.
Christine is amazing.
I love you.
Thank you. So, speaking of numerology, we have amazing numerology going on in the sky on this new moon. Starting on May 22nd, 2020, we have the moon and the sun conjunct, which makes it new, in the sign of Gemini, 2 degrees of Gemini, by the way, the twins, another two symbology. And we also have Venus conjunct Mercury in the sign of Gemini at 22 degrees. And I believe, isn't it squaring Neptune in Pisces at 22 degrees as well?
Correct.
So we have a lot of
degrees, but yeah, it's the 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 coming up every single where you go. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely square.
So let's talk about the number 2, since it's so big in what's going on the day of the new moon. What does 2 represent in numerology?
2 is the balance. It's the duality, and it's interesting because Gemini, it's the twins, it's the balance, and there's a lot of that going on right now. Finding the balance and like internalizing it, and going within. It's the mental realm, the emotional realm, even physical activities. It's finding the balance. And with all these 2s, like if you look at 22 is a master builder. It's a master number that we wouldn't necessarily break down into a 4. I guess it depends on which one it would be vibrating at. It would be 22 is a master number, 4 would just be like, the 4 foundation. But like in the year of 2020, we're in that foundational year for everyone. It's like setting new seeds and figuring out what you want to do and starting to bring in that manifestation in this current year. So it's a huge year for all of us involved.
Yes, I can feel it. I feel like I'm really getting more an idea of what I want to be doing with my life now, making career changes and feeling very on track, I guess.
Yeah.
But what about, do you feel like that these number 2 can also represent the division that's going on right now?
Absolutely, because like the 2 is like the polarity, the duality. So the division that's like that's going on, the things that are actually happening behind the scenes that are not actually coming. It's starting to come into the forefront, but not exactly. And I think being in that Gemini energy, Gemini is all about like news. It's all about gossip. It's all about it's mental. So I think a lot of things are going to be coming out in these next couple weeks. And a lot of people might be a little taken back by it, but I think it's for the greater good for everyone involved.
Yeah, I agree. I think the division actually gets us to that place of balance that you were talking about in the beginning. It's like kind of giving you the opportunity to look at both sides, and then with all these retrogrades and the new moon, inviting you to go inward and really sit with things for a while before you go and communicate something, Gemini communication. So really inviting you to go inward, sit with things for a while, look at both sides, and then find the balance, come out of that with the balance, and then communicate that or show that or whatever it is you're doing at that moment. But communication's big because of Gemini.
And communication, another thing, a part of it is not just turning on the news and expecting them to tell us everything that we're supposed to know, but literally taking it a step further and doing that research on your own to find out what actually resonates with you. Because some things, people say that doesn't feel right. And with that feeling inside of you, you want to honor it and you want to trust it. And then you want to dive a little deeper and do your own research. And I think a lot of things are going to be, like I said, pulled to the surface right now. And, everything that you see, hear, feel, don't take for face value. Do your own research and see if what the news is saying is accurate. Most of the time it's not, but that's neither here nor there. But do your research and find what feels right, what resonates with you. That'd be my biggest thing right now, is because we're going in this true like mental state And we're figuring out what works, what doesn't work. And we're going that introspective, like so many planets are retrograde. We have Pluto, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter. And we know when any planet goes in retrograde, it gives us time to go inside and to reflect and to like honor actually what we're going. And we're just not like charging full speed ahead. So, but I personally like the retrogrades, except for one, but it hasn't happened. It's happening this year, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know which one you're talking about. And it's not Mercury. And it's not Mercury.
I love Mercury retrograde, me personally. I'm a Virgo, so you know, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and so that puts extra energy there. But I got divorced during Mercury retrograde. I finished writing my book during Mercury retrograde, so I harness that, you know, the positive sides of Mercury being retrograde.
I think that's beautiful. And Mercury is going to be going retrograde in what, June or July?
I want to say it's June.
I want to say it's June too, like right after Venus goes direct, I think, or right around that time. Because Venus is retrograde right now. So, yeah. And that's why she's going right back through things again and hitting that Mercury conjunct. They're going to be working together on this new moon.
Yeah, I love when Venus and Mercury is conjunct. It's it's an easier aspect because of the conjunction, but like it's taking the planet of love, Venus, and taking the planet of communication and it's bringing it together. But it's interesting because it's that Gemini element where you're thinking about things.
Yeah.
Not to mention we just had Mars going into Pisces, and Mars is a fire sign. I don't want to be in a water sign, but I really think it's like giving us that ability to like dive deeper into our feelings. And the Venus Mercury conjunction, it aids into that element. It plays a part where we're able to truly think about what we're feeling and acknowledge it. Writing letters is, I see, very beneficial. It might not necessarily be sent exactly when you want to send it, but getting that information out of your head, out of your heart, and into like the physical paper, then you could actually sit back and think, is this how I feel? It's not like if say Mars and Leo is like boom, action now, immediacy, but now we're kind of going to like, this is how I feel, but like not necessarily putting it out there and just letting it go. Like shots fired. Not that energy.
That's good to know. I was just thinking, this energy between Venus and Mercury inside of Gemini can also bring up like old relationships, right? With Venus being retrograde.
Yeah. So heads up, if you haven't spoken to your ex in a really long time, Venus retrograde transits tend to bring them back to clear up any type of karmic ties that you have together. Sometimes they just resurface temporary. Sometimes they actually come back fully, but then energy is there. And with the Mercury conjunct, it's something that needs to be said, that needs to be released in order for that healing and that understanding and that knowledge, and then you can fully move on, whether it's with your ex or with something else, or with somebody else. Yeah. So when you think of Mercury and when you think of Venus, like what comes to your mind? Like it makes me like it's like my two favorite planets are like going together, and it's like yes. They're not opposing each other. It's not a harder thing. It's just like something that's it just makes me happy, makes me feel good.
Yeah. So for me, it makes me feel like I am going to be talking and communicating about what I love. And that's what we're doing right now. I love astrology. I love talking about this. I love talking to you about it. We have a great conversation every time. Yeah. So that's what it's really, to me, it's, you got the Mercury communication, and you got Venus, which is all about love and what you find beautiful and your values, what you find valuable and how you feel about that. So that's what I feel. I feel like it's going to be good conversations.
Yeah. Conversations, let's just like back like the last 2 months, like how much of our conversations have actually changed, where people used to like go out and have all these different meetings, and now a lot of our conversations is like what we're doing right now is like through a computer.
Yeah.
And it shifted a little bit, but I think a lot of people actually have gotten closer during this time with their families. And so, you know, even though some might appear challenging, in other aspects, things have, you know, brought families and friends closer together.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It definitely has changed the way we've communicated with one another 100%.
Yeah, like how many people actually knew about Zoom before this happened? And now, like, even a lot of people, like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, they have more awareness of it. So
yeah, and back to what we were saying with Mercury and Venus being together could bring up old partners especially because of being in Gemini, that the duality as well. We have them squaring Neptune, and that's illusion. So really, if somebody's coming back into your life right now, take the opportunity of the new moon especially and all these retrogrades and really sit with it before you jump into getting back into a relationship with somebody, or if you jump back into a friendship with somebody. Remember why you're not in that friendship to begin with. Really weigh and balance the options. That's exactly what I think this is inviting us to do. And comment below, is anybody coming back into your life? I'm so curious to see what's happening. Like, I want to see if somebody's going to be coming back into my life, not romantically, but old friends that I haven't talked to in a while, or,
sitting there scrolling in my head, like, who's popped back into my world? But yeah, that energy is there for them to actually come back. And I love that you said is like, it's squaring Neptune where things might not appear as they seem, because just that Neptune, that, dreamy, mystical, but we do this beautiful thing as creatures. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like when we're no longer with somebody, we somehow forget what they did was bad. We only truly focus on the good. I don't know, but like during this time, like if they're coming back in, just like take a pro and cons chart. That's what I do. It's just, guys, here are my pros, here are my cons. Like, with the pros outweigh the cons. Like, are they, adding joy to my life? Are they taking away? Like, how do I feel around them? Am I like, yeah, I'm super excited, or I'm just like, I'm kind of drained. I don't want to be with them. Just be mindful of what you're feeling and use this transit to, to figure out what you actually truly want. Because say, for instance, they come back in and say whatever they change, but wait until the transit's actually officially over to actually see if that energy still remains intact or did it dissipate. Because it's interesting how these retrogrades can play out one way while you're in it, and then the retrograde, that energy is removed, and then after the retrograde happens, it, like, what happened to it? I speak from personal experience, Jamie. It's insane.
I know. I agree with you 100%. Retrogrades are really here to tell us to sit within ourselves, take a moment, pause, breathe, and really think things through. It's not about ever jumping into anything. It's always about taking a step back and looking inward and really coming to yourself with the answers. And another thing I find is very interesting now that I say that is we have the trine with the sun and moon to Saturn, I believe, correct? Which would give us this like stable ground to really trust and honor ourselves, give ourselves that responsibility and that, like I said, stable ground. It's like we're going to know the answer. If we actually take the time to sit with things before we jump into them, especially during these retrogrades right now, Saturn's there to support on this day. And on a new moon, I always write new intentions. So really sit with yourself, meditate, ask yourself the big questions before you write down what you want to achieve for the next month or the next year. Sit with Saturn, let Saturn guide you in this sense, the responsible father-like person or self, part of yourself. And trust yourself. You're going to know the answers. You're going to know what to do and what to strive for throughout the next year.
The intentions of how to, harness that new moon's energy. So when we have a new moon, it's our time that we can go inside and think about what do we actually want to create. Be intentional with our creation. And we can use this new moon to harness its energy. So think about things that you want to manifest into your world. Write it down. And so, like, I'll explain what I do, and then Jamie, you can add what you do, because we might have different things. I might use what you do next time, or you might do what I do next time, or vice versa. But this is how we actually gain different insights so we can grow as spiritual beings. So when a new moon happens, I know it's all about like new beginnings and creation. And so like, all right, what do I actually want to create? So it's very simple. I go to the dollar store and I get my little count book, and I just sit there and I write the date and I write what the moon is, so I remember it for further knowledge. And I figure out what do I actually want to create. So for instance, if I am doing the new moon in Gemini, my intention, this candle ceremony is to actually for astrology to meet the masses. And if you know about your own chart, you can see how that would actually blend in, which we'll do another segment on that one. So that would be my being heart-centered, taking the information that we know, that we love, and be able to share it to people so they can understand astrology and apply it to their daily life. So on a candle, now you can go to like a Whole Foods and buy the $12 Reiki candles. I've learned I spend way too much money on candles that I do. Probably go to the dollar store and, like, you know, write your intention on the candle, or put it on a piece of paper and put it underneath, or if like you can get the glass candles, however you want to do it. I just like personally write it and carving it on the candle. And then I call upon, like, you know, ascended masters that who would assist me. So for instance, communication, Archangel Gabriel, he's the archangel to help people communicate their wants and desires. I always pull in Michael because, you know, I like the protection, but you have your own spiritual posse that you call in. You don't necessarily have to know their names. If you don't know them, it's okay. You can just call them by their roles. I usually, you know, I call in my people. I use the planetary hours. So there's apps that you can actually download, and you can see what planetary hours will work best for what your intention is. You know, Friday's all about Venus, the planet of love. And, you know, me and Jamie, we love talking about astrology. Like, we ping pong off each other. And basically it's like sitting down, writing it, light incense or put on music to kind of like put you into that energy of creation and manifestation, you know, write it down. You can use different type of herbs and different type of incense. That could be a whole other thing, but like this is just to kind of like put different thoughts into your head. And what probably the biggest thing is when you're writing it down, write it down as if it's already done. You're creating it. And the only way you speak the universal language is you're speaking it as it's already done, because I want, I need, you don't got it, and the universe ain't gonna give it to you. So thank you for blah, 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 blah. And literally that emotion, that intention, that excitement behind it, it'll pull it to you quicker. So Jamie, like, what, do you do anything like that? Like, I can't wait to see what you do.
Yeah, I do something not exactly like that, but yeah. So what I do is, and actually I'm going to be doing this live, starting this new moon. So you can come and join me if you're interested, on the Master's Octave. And I'll have more information about that, I guess, on the comments or whatever below. But so what I do is I sit with my husband. We always do it together. I have all 4 elements. I have earth, air, fire, water. And so what I mean by that, I always have like an incense burning for air. But when you have your pen and paper, I also have a notebook just for new moon stuff that I write in every month. So that's also air, because that's Gemini, that's communication, and Virgo as well, the writer. So I do that. I have water, a cup of water where I have the word gratitude written on it. And sometimes I'll do a prayer with that and do moon water, which is what you just put it outside. Do it under the new moon and full moon, especially when it's a watery full moon. I like to honor the elements of each moon. So I do Palo Santo or sage cleansing. And I have a prayer that I kind of made up, which I love to say beforehand, just to cleanse the space and cleanse my aura. And then I go in and talk, because I do it with other people. So I talk about what Gemini would be under this new moon. I talk a little bit of astrology, exactly what we talked about here. And I use my birth chart and the house of where the moon is. So in Gemini, for me, it's the 8th house. So I kind of like base my manifesting, my new goals on that house. You don't have to do that. You could just use Gemini or sit with yourself, what we're supposed to be doing anyway. this time around, and, you know, write whatever comes to you. But I like what you said when you said write it as if it's already done. So what I do is I write it like as affirmations, like I am this and I have this, and yeah, along those lines. And then I record it and I listen to it throughout the month. And then after that, I do 3 tarot cards, like what was, how it's going to come to be, the manifestation, and I don't remember exactly the wording that I use for it, but it's like kind of like a, how I'm going to get there, what's going to guide me, and the outcome, the final outcome of it all. And I kind of put that into my I am affirmations as well. So I take all that into consideration. It's kind of not a lengthy process, but it is a little detailed, I guess, intricate. But there's no wrong way of doing this. As long as you're taking the time and the space, the intention is really what's the most important thing.
You know, I was gonna actually say, like, exactly, like when we're sitting down and we're writing down, or we're putting our intentions onto the candle, we're giving our thoughts to something to focus on, and then every day we can see it. And I love that you actually record your affirmations and you hear it all throughout the thing, because you're programming yourself. And it takes, as your husband says, because I work with him, he has a program called the Soul's Dream. I believe it's 7 lessons, 7 courses, and you kind of figure it out. But he's like, it takes 30 days to create a new habit. And so, like, every month, like, you're bringing more of these energies into your reality. So then you take charge of being that co-creator that that we are. And I absolutely love that. So that's something that I'm going to do. Yeah, this is just giving us an intention. This is giving us a focus point, so we can, like, focus our energy and know that it's going to happen to us. We know it's going to, because we're powerful manifestors. We know, we think it, we say it, we claim it, it's ours. Boom. I think that's just the way it is. There's simply no other way. But to have that down, to see it, and then to go back and to embody it. It's not just like I am happy. Like, you really truly gotta embody that happiness. Like, I am happy. And no, don't do like you're trying to convince yourself. Like, feel the emotions and feel what you're writing down, because that emotion part, it really does attract it to us. And comment below, what do you do during the new moons? Do you like candles? Do you do tarot cards? Do you have a book that you keep everything in? What has worked for you, and maybe what hasn't worked for you? Because there's no, what you said, there's no wrong. Everyone, if you follow your heart and you follow your intuition, that's what's right for you.
You're absolutely right. It takes 30 days to make a new habit. But the moon represents the habits. It represents habits and your subconscious mind. And that's where we make our habits, in the subconscious mind. So I think it's really important to do affirmations, and why not create them yourself? It's the perfect way to do it. And I love what you were saying about writing it down with emotion, because emotion is a key ingredient when manifesting anything. It's energy in motion. It's our force, So when we are really excited about something, it brings it into fruition even that much faster and stronger. And when we're angry about something, you make other things happen just as fast and just as strong. So pay attention to your emotions. They're very, very, very key.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to discuss? I know you mentioned a book right there. I'll have that in the link below if people want to purchase it. And I'll have some other things like Palo Santo and crystals if you want to start doing that stuff like I do. I like to have a crystal for my earth, and Palo Santo for my air, and cleansing my space. So I'll have things like that in the links below every time we talk about it, especially when we bring up a new book or what have you.
It's easy. I like to, like I said, write down my patterns in here, or anything happens during that day. So when I go back in the future, do I see a trend? Like I said, I've seen a trend when it's Sun square Saturn. So that makes sense. Sun usually represents the masculine energy, and Saturn is authority figure, or also masculine. So I just consciously know not to do any type of heavy hitting, especially when it comes involved with my heart. That's how I remembered it last time. And it happened like twice. I'm like, oh, you ain't joking. Like, this is not the energy to harness it in. Because that's what astrology is. It gives you extra energy. And if you're aware of the energy that's there, it just kind of, it can boost you up. Like, if you know what hour it is, like, you know, a lot of times when I do things, like, I just say, all right, what hour are we in? Are we in the Mercury hour? Is this a good time to be talking to somebody? Or like, possibly, is this, you know, the moon hour? This is a great time to talk about your feelings and your emotions, because the moon represents emotions. So you can use these little tiny elements to help you create whatever you want to create in your beautiful world.
I love that. It was so well put. Exactly. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it really inspired you, and I hope to see you again real soon. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button, and don't forget to comment. We love to talk, so please. And if you really are interested in that book, like I said, I'll have it in the links below. Until next time, thank you and happy manifesting.
Bye, y'all.